If you've been listening to the podcast for a while and thought, man, I would love to grab a drink and pick the brain of some of these guests I've been listening to, or maybe me as well, here's your shot. I'm putting on an event this April called Elevate. This is the third year doing this, and we're going to be in Phoenix, Arizona, where we're going to have the top agency owners really come together, share what's working, get real on what's not, and really help each other scale faster. So if you're ready to finally get out of the weeds and grow your agency the right way, I want you to join me and 50 other amazing 7 and 8 figure agencies at Elevate. You'll connect with people who've been there, leave with a real growth plan, and actually enjoy the process. Now, we only have a few tickets left, so make sure you go over to elevatemyagency.com to lock in your spot now. Go to elevatemyagency.com now. You're listening to the Smart Agency Masterclass with me, Jason Swank, and we're bringing you this episode courtesy of our friends at Wix Studio. Let's go ahead and get into the show. Hey, Tyler, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jason. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. Tell us who you are, what you do.
I'm Tyler Smith. I'm the president and owner of Matado. We are a food service focused brand strategy and creative marketing agency. So we work with food and beverage brands who are specifically looking at growing in the food service or food away from home space.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get into this?
It's a story. It's totally accidental. I guess going way back. So I went to Michigan State studying advertising. I wanted to be either a graphic designer or a copywriter. So definitely have more of a creative lean. And then I think my junior year, I was looking for some beer money. I needed a job, needed to bring in some cash. And I saw an ad for a carpet cleaning company. So I respond to the ad and I go in and interview. And it didn't dawn on me until orientation after I got the job that really what the job was selling Kirby vacuums door to door.
Oh my gosh. How long ago was this?
This was in 08, I think, right around 08.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a $2,500 vacuum. It's crazy, but I don't know. For whatever reason, I just said, okay, well, I guess I'm doing this now. I've always kind of been like that. I don't really quit on anything. So I said, all right, I'll give it a try, and actually turned out to be pretty good at it. Sold like 10 vacuums in the month of May of 2008. So it gave me a.
So did you go to like people's houses and then throw shit on their floor and be like, now let's demonstrate?
Oh man, we had a whole routine. So it would start with canvassing. It's actually like a great crash course in sales and marketing, because I would go around to a neighborhood and canvass, and we'd had a whole script where all we're trying to do at that point is get names and phone numbers. So then our customer service cold calling team can set up an appointment for a free demo, free carpet cleaning. So that's when I would come in after the appointment has been made to shampoo one room of their house. And then I would, go through the whole Kirby home cleaning system and show them all the dirt they're leaving behind with their old vacuum and everything. And, it was all scripted out.
What's the most disgusting? Was there any like carpet that was just so disgusting you were like, get me out of here? There was someone murdered in here.
The grossest thing was we always did the mattress test. So we'd always hook up a black satin cloth to the end of the vacuum where the dirt bag goes, and we'd run the vacuum over their bare mattress, and it would always produce a bunch of skin cells, which is just like what falls off of us when we're sleeping. That always grossed people out and made them want to buy even more. It's really just, so, I mean, I lasted like a month there before I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's too invasive, too strange. I just need to make some sandwiches at a sandwich shop or something. But anyway, where that connects is that, so after I graduated, it was 09, which was not a great time to graduate with an advertising degree. I was looking for a internship or entry level kind of creative position, and there really wasn't much going on. And I knew an agency owner who owned an agency kind of around my hometown, and I connected with her, and I was having her check out my resume, and she said, well, hey, you have some sales experience. We need some sales at the agency right now. Why don't you come on? I'll pay you on a commission only basis, and we'll see where it goes. Win-win. You get some experience. Maybe I get some new business. We'll see what happens. So that was January of 2010. And then by April of that year, she brought me on full time. I'd built up a decent book of business. And then, kind of to make a longer story short, I kind of kept growing and learning and developing into kind of more account leadership roles beyond just account exec, still really driving new business efforts for the agency. At that time, it was called Newhall Klein. So it was my former partner's married name and maiden name. And then the agency was founded in '89. So it's been around for quite a while. And then, yeah, 2016, she brought me on as a partner. So 49% ownership. And then when she retired in 2020, I bought her outright. So since then, I've been our sole owner.
Good for you. And especially, I love hearing an agency back in the 80s.
I know. Yeah. '89. It's pretty crazy. And I mean, the agency has evolved so much, and
I would think.
it kind of has to. And then, so it's really the same agency, but we rebranded a couple of years ago to Matato. I wanted something that I could feel more personal ownership over, something that we could it has a bit of a food lean to it. So it comes from this like tomato, potato. And then importantly, we could trademark it and buy the .com. So that was huge for us.
That's the key to, creating an agency name is the .com available.
It really is. It really is.
When I started my agency in '99, that was a problem too. I mean, it's just harder now. That's why everybody's making up names.
I know, it's getting so tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's funny. We've the agency has changed so much in a good way, but in many ways it's been similar. So before my time, the agency was heavily involved in the food service space. So what that looked like back then was a lot of work with, in our world, there's the distributors. So there's like Cisco and US Foods and PFG are some of the big names. And we had done work with some of those folks in developing their private label brand portfolio. So a lot of the work, and still a little bit today, has been on the packaging, art production side, and a lot of kind of logo design, like classic graphic design agency. And then as we get into the kind of 2010s, we're getting more into more web design, more integrated campaign work, and for a variety of different industries. So we started off fairly narrow, and then we kind of ballooned out, kind of taking on all kinds of different B2B, B2C, various different channels. And then more recently refocused back down to kind of put our stake in the ground in the food service space more firmly.
Yeah. Our first big client that we got was Crystal Springs, which was water.com. And, I remember we were doing all their packaging design, and we do web too, but it was a big account, and it was really cool. And what people don't realize was I eventually married my contact there.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, we got in that account because my wife it was my girlfriend at the time, now my wife. So that's the secret about getting big accounts.
That's right. Yeah, fall in love with your clients.
That's all right. Let's go back to kind of when you started selling for them.
Yeah.
How did you grow your account? Because there's a lot of people listening right now. Their business is based on referrals and word of mouth, and they really have no clue or really don't know where to begin with sales. So where did you start off? What worked? What didn't work?
Yeah. You cringe a little bit looking back, but things worked and they worked. But we'd go to a lot of trade shows. So in our industry, there's a lot of food shows. We go to the National Restaurant Association show. They call it the NRA show, but it's not a gun show. Or like Fancy Food, or several others where there's
shooting food.
Yeah, there we go. Put that on a t-shirt. But so several different food shows where we would walk the floor, and essentially you're cold calling on the floor, which is where some of that vacuum experience came in handy, where we're trying to just make a quick connection, follow up. When you're doing that, it's more of a numbers game. We're trying to, if we can walk away with X number of contacts and we can turn 2 of those into proposals and one of them hits, then it pays for itself. So Those were some of the early tactics, or we'd be digging through maybe old clients who we did a little one-off project for that we're trying to resurface. But it was more of a grind back then because we truly didn't have a marketing strategy. We didn't have a true new biz strategy. It was a lot of cold calling, warm outreach, taking referrals and growing them when we can get them. We put a big emphasis, I think, because we didn't have a new business strategy. Truly, we would put a lot of emphasis on what can we do to grow the accounts we had. Can we add on to if they're doing a website, can we add on a marketing campaign component, or can we plus up an engagement with a custom photo shoot or like that sort of thing. But it's really difficult looking back on it because we'd be putting out blog posts about branding or Photoshop tips and stuff like that, which they may get some engagement, but it's not really driving any inbound.
Yeah. Whenever I see agencies posting articles, here's how to choose an agency, I'm like, oh my gosh,
Right.
that may have worked 15 years ago or maybe 20 years ago, but it just doesn't work now. Like, you got to tell someone how to do something, not how to choose you. Here's the best way to position your brand, blah, blah, blah.
100%. And that's where we are now is we have a generous mentality when it comes to content creation. So, and that's where just repositioning more firmly in food service, more firmly, I guess, just to go a little deeper in this, it's typically with brands who they've maybe built up a really strong retail presence or a direct to consumer presence, and they're exploring food service as a new channel, or maybe they've built some growth in there, but they haven't effectively marketed it in that space, and it's been more of a sales effort. So we're really bringing more intentionality and marketing firepower to this channel, and there's a lot to teach these brands. So the typical inside marketing team maybe has more consumer marketing expertise, but maybe they don't know how to touch on like the pain points of the restaurant operator or the chef or the K through 12 food service director type buyer. So that's the mentality we can bring to it. And so that becomes cornerstones of the content that we put out. So we're frequently publishing blog posts. We do an annual food service marketing playbook, which is basically our lead magnet, but it's also like extremely informative, and we get a lot of comments back about just some brands choose to download that and kind of roll their own, and they get value out of it just by using it and never engaging with us, which is fine. It's not for everybody to work with us, but those that see the value in it and know they don't want to or can't do it themselves, that's our ideal client base.
Do you have a podcast?
We don't have a podcast. I've done a couple kind of joint venture mini podcasts with there's a food service broker that I'm close with. And so we've done some experimental podcasts, I'd say. We've probably had like 4 or 5 episodes where we just push it out, but nothing consistent.
Look, your agency adapts for every client, right? Your builder should do the same. That's why Wix Studio is built for the way you actually create. AI-powered site mapping lets you get straight down to the design. Whether you shape things in Figma or start in Studio, your vision's coming to life quicker with no-code animations and built-in responsiveness. And for client growth that actually scale, you've got extendable business solutions and a dynamic CMS. Scale your agency at wixstudio.com.
I feel if you did a consistent podcast, especially with your niche, we had a mastermind member that actually goes after your niche. And he wouldn't listen to us for like 4 years of like, create a podcast. Like, you got great content, right? It sounds like you have great content as well, and you're putting it out there because not many people want to read a blog post. And honestly, too, with AI, most people are not going to make it to your blog post anymore. But if you started interviewing people in your niche that you're actually going after, getting their advice, what's working for them, that's what people want to hear. I mean, that's the whole premise of the Smart Agency podcast that we've been doing for 11 years is interview really smart people like yourself, get your take, your story, what worked for you. And then people can listen and going, oh man, I'm going to take that little piece that Tyler said about this, and then I'm going to go run with it. Or if you had 8 step something, maybe they take 1 or 2. Like I always tell everybody in our community or in our mastermind, I'm like, look, you don't have to do something identical to what worked for everybody else, because everyone's unique, everyone's different. But you take little bits and pieces. And what you'll find, like most people that jump into our mastermind or come to our events, they've been listening to the show for 2 years or more. It's a long-term play.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and our network is deep enough where we could for sure get some low-hanging fruit guests on there and find a way to make it our own. Maybe I've always been resistant to it because everyone's always like, well, everybody needs a podcast. Everyone wants a podcast. Maybe we do need a podcast.
Well, look, you look at all the celebrities out there now too, right?
Right.
They all have podcasts because they realized how powerful it is that they can control it versus someone else dictating, right? Then, my biggest frustration is all those stupid fucking influencers out there that we were talking about. Are they real or are they AI?
Right.
I hate them both. And don't let that stop you, because the people that, in our community that have created podcasts, it's been the number one thing that they've ever done for their business.
That's a good testimonial.
It's the number one thing we did for ours. And it's probably the most fun that I have outside of meeting with the mastermind, right? Like, because I just get to talk to really cool people with the same interest, hear their story, just jab back and forth. Some people I agree with, some people I don't agree with. Like, it just creates great content.
I mean, this is already more fun than sitting down and writing for an hour. So,
oh my God.
I think you're onto something.
I mean, shoot me. Like, I know you said you were a graphic designer and a content writer, which I was like, you're kind of a unique person.
In college, I thought I was. Let me disclaim that for my creative team.
Okay. All right.
I know enough to be dangerous, but I know my swim lane these days.
Yeah, you're kind of like me. I went to school for programming, but I'm more of a graphic artist.
Okay. Yep.
Which is even more extreme. Like, I'm even more confused than you.
See, but I think it's a healthy confusion, because what it gave me as a salesperson early on was the ability to communicate with our design team and the ability to know if a client request is doable or ridiculous, and it helped me build rapport on both sides. And I mean, I'm sure it's the same for you, where you can tell like
definitely
what's executable from a programming standpoint, even if this is my creative vision for it.
Yeah, I mean, because you got to think, like, we built apps, like we built LegalZoom, we built, like really cool apps, but we also designed the interfaces of them. And so I could go back and forth, and I felt like that was my superpower. Like, I could dumb it down so a 5th grader could understand it versus the technical speak. I'm always challenging my members not to do. I'm like, stop talking about geo. People don't care about that. They care. Like, everyone knows what SEO is now, but now, the new term is geo, and getting ranked everywhere in the LLM, the large language models, and they're using all these things that no one knows.
Right.
And I'm like, just keep it simple, dumb it down, pretend you're talking to your parents.
Right. Yeah, you did better than explain it like I'm 5. Explain it to your boomer parents.
Yes. If you can do that and they can understand it, you're going to be an amazing, you're going to do really well in your agency. When you get too technical, I have a lot of people that we'll chat with, and they just overwhelm the hell out of their prospect. What was one thing that really worked for you to kind of, outside of, I know you went to the trade shows, but like in the follow-up, what worked for you? Because I want to talk about, more on sales and not. So what worked for you?
Interesting thinking back. I mean, this is something that's kind of carried through. There's a level of flexibility and maybe empathy for the prospect, like putting myself in their shoes and genuinely wanting to help in some way. And early on, it was never being too rigid about what they need to purchase from us. If what I think is the right solution for you, if that's not going to work from a budget standpoint or whatever other reason, there's always another option. So the sense of flexibility really helped me early on grow and get feet in the door that we could grow from. Granted,
more
like
problem solving.
Yeah, definitely like on the fly problem solving, I think I think it's one of my superpowers when I look back on it. And even today is like going in, knowing everything might change by the end of that meeting and being okay with that. Like never being too set on, okay, if they don't purchase this exactly the way I've prescribed it, we can't move forward. So never too rigid. So it's a flexible kind of improvisational approach to selling, which I think has served us well. I mean, it's certainly gotten me in trouble a few times, no doubt. There's some rolls of the dice and some executive decisions I made early in my career that,
like what? Give us an example.
like committing to budget figures that we had no reasonable way of hitting. Committing to deliverables that just are not in line with our capabilities at the time or whatever that might be. And my team now may say, well, you're still committing to some crazy hot deadlines, but I tell them to stop doing so well and I'll stop committing to them.
So one thing that happened to us, I was like you. For a while, I was doing the selling at the agency, like most of us. But then I also put profitability on my VP of ops.
Yeah.
And so he's like, man, this is unfair, Jason. Like you're selling something that you're setting us up to fail. And so literally we put a check mark in there where before any proposal or any number went out, like the final number, he had to approve it.
Yeah.
We both had buy-ins.
For sure. Yeah. When I look back, there's like early on, I mean, I was truly learning on the job. I learned more in my first few months on the agency side than I did in the 4 years of college. I mean, I'm growing myself, growing with the agency. So a lot of early mistakes, a lot of learnings. There's like that phase. Then there was like partnership phase where I'm working alongside our founder and learning from her. We're challenging each other. We're kind of defining our co-visions or even separate visions at times for what the future of the agency looks like. And then there's everything from like sole ownership to now, and like 3 very distinct stages in the growth.
Now it's that's kind of the thing that I get excited about is there's always something new around the corner. You never know everything.
For sure.
And things are always changing. What I've realized is what got you to this point may not be the thing that's going to get you to the next point that you're wanting to go. And you just I always tell everybody, you got to be curious. Like if you're an agency owner and you want to be successful, you got to be curious and willing to test a bunch of stuff. If you can't do those 2 things, you're going to suffer.
100%. And that, I mean, from a sales perspective, that was our mindset, and it still is to some degree, but coming out of COVID. So we were maybe 18 people in 2019, and we took our lumps. It's a tough time to be in the food service industry at that, during that period. But yeah, we got really curious. We got really experimental because combined with what was going on in the market, we were also doubling down on this positioning in the food service industry. So with client work, in some cases, slowing down at that point, we could get more playful. We could kind of find threads and see which ones to pull. Like, oh, here's a chef influencer. Let's see where that one goes. Or, oh, here's an association that we're kind of aligned with. Let's maybe write some content for them and see if it can produce any kind of lead gen mechanism in a kind of co-publishing sense. And yeah, we can just start pulling these threads and in a more intentional way because we knew what industry we would be focused on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Tyler. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners listening in?
No, I don't think so. No, I really appreciate you having me on. It's been fun to chat through.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks so much for coming on, and for everyone listening. If this resonated with you, I want you to really kind of think about what can you do a little bit different on your sales or in your agency, and go test out something. And if you feel like you're constantly, alone or isolated on this fucking agency island, reach out to us and see if our mastermind's right for you. We'll have a conversation. We're just like Tyler. Like, if we can help you, we're going to help you. And if there's another solution, we'll be like, hey, you got to go do that before you kind of come here. So just go to the website, look us up. And until next time, have a swank day.